Welcome to the 2024 Ambrogio remote app. In this tutorial we're going to have a look at the features of the app in both Bluetooth connection and cloud connection. So we're going to choose Frankie, which is here. And to start with, we're going to connect via Bluetooth in order to do the basic setup of the robot. So in the icon there that says setup, click on this and this will start the connection process. This throws up a select an accessory box, and we wait for the robot, but you need to be near to the robot to connect with it. This could take a little time, so a little patience is necessary. There we have it. So I'm now going to click on the 20 Elite, which is Frankie. At the moment the robot's in pause status, which says stop, so that I can do the setup. Here I have a map of a lawn, 700 square meters, which we're going to divide into three areas: area 1, area 2, area 3. And I'm going to go through the app to show you how to set the time according to the working time schedule and how to edit the areas 1, 2 and 3. So we now have connection to the robot via Bluetooth, and notice in the home page here it shows us here that we have BT only, BT only, BT only, which is Bluetooth. So we're going to go into the setup. In the Bluetooth connection, it shows us that the battery is 100%, that the GSM is 3 or 4 bars, that's a good GSM signal, and the GPS signal is full strength. So the first thing we're going to do in the setup is look into the setup page, and you'll see there we've got 3 different areas we can look at. We can look at the area settings, which is the lawn setup, and the profile, which is the time, schedule, and the general settings shows us other features which we'll go through. So first of all, we'll look at the area setup, and we're going to set up the lawn that we had demonstrated there. So first of all, we go into area 1. We're going to edit this to suit the map that we had. So the area is 250 square meters. The distance from the base station for the robot to travel to get to the start point is 10 meters. And the way that the robot gets to that is in anti-clockwise direction. We can edit this to be clockwise or anti-clockwise. We want this to use the feature of off, which is to follow directly over the wire to get to that start point, and then we save that. If we go back, we go to area 2. This also will be 250 square meters. The distance from the base station of area 2 is 50 meters. And we want this to go clockwise, and we want this to follow just inside the wire, V meter inside the wire, because the area is open to get to follow a distance of the 50 meters. So we can save that and go back. Area 3. In area 3, we'll edit that to be 250 square meters. And the distance for this is 60 meters. We wish this to travel in an anti-clockwise direction, and again we're going to have this to V meter away from the wire in the minimum position and save. So that's completed the setup for the areas. We've navigated back to the robot settings page, and we'll now look at the profile settings. So if I just click on the profile, you can see there we've got P1, P2 and P3. These profiles let us edit three different sets of working time schedules. So we'll first look at the profile 1 working time profile. And can we see that at the top there we've got the rain setting. This is either off or on, or we can delay it. We can edit the delay to say that it's delayed by the amount of hours we wanted to stay at the base station before it comes out for other operation. The on gives it a default of 2 hours. The distance wire is the way that the robot goes back to the charge station. This can only be one setting, so it's either going to follow the wire in the off position or travel parallel to the wire inside the lawn in either the minimum or the maximum position. You'll need to experiment with this to see whether or not the robot can travel back in the V-meter format in this way. So we'll look at the time schedule. So I'm advising that we use the time schedules that are set in the manual, and for the 700 square meter lawn that we have, the time schedule, the default time schedule is 8:30 till 22:30. We don't need that to be that length of time. For 700 square meters, the manual says this needs to run from 0900 to 1900 hours. So we can edit it here, 0900. Done. To 1900. Done. Below that you can see that this applies to, the schedule applies to all of the areas. If we haven't populated with any distances or areas, working areas 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, we can either disable them or we can just leave them as they are. If there's no distance set in the area, it won't set up any time. So there's our time, 9 to 1900. We can press the save button. We can go back to profile 1, go back into Monday, and it sees here we're able to copy that to all the other days and save. And we can see here we've also got the ability to be able to do a second time, a third time and a fourth time within the same day. So if, for example, we wanted the robot to run 10 till 12, then 1400 till 1600 and 1800 till 2000, then we could edit those in 2, 3 and 4. Okay. If we want a border cut on a particular day, we could slide the border cut on, and the border cut is where the robot will leave the base station and travel around the wire, directly over the wire with the blades operating. We don't need this to be every day, so you can just select this for a couple of days, maybe a Monday and a Tuesday, and save that. We can also copy that to Thursday. And we've now completed the time schedule for the robot. We're now back onto the robot settings page, and we'll have a look and see in the general settings what features and functions we have in there. So from the top of the page there we can see the robot name. We can edit this. I'll just put it back to Frankie. In the software update, I would check with the dealer or Ambrogio UK that the software update, update of it is necessary. I would just check before you update the robot. You'll see here that in this case I've got the geofence disabled. I can enable that, and this puts a radii around the lawn so that if the robot's removed from the area, it will send an alert. That shows us that's done successfully. We can also reconfigure the Connect module. This will have been done on the initial setup, but if it didn't work first term, we can re-enable it here. We can look and see here who is connected to the robot, and if we wanted to, we could delete one of the available devices for the person's name. The air marker in the installation settings here is the distance away from the charge station that the robot connects via Bluetooth to slow the robot down before it enters the charge station. The default of 00 is standard. That's usually okay for every application. If the dealer or advises you to change that, that's where you change it. And the docking shift, if the robot doesn't enter the docking station centrally, then you can shift the docking to a minus or a plus, so it trims and goes better. So it'll move it either to the right or the left when it's docking. Usually you'll find that the standard default of 0 is fine. The distance wire in this general settings page refers to the distance that the robot goes over the wire. So you can set this to minimum. I would advise that you set this to the minimum position, so the robot is just going over the wire. So each time the robot arrives at the wire, it slightly goes over the wire before reversing and changing the random angle that it comes out on. So I would leave that on the minimum position. Security lock, if you want to have the buttons so that they're not the buttons don't operate on the panel of the robot, you can security lock those, so it requires a password each time that it's controlled. The stop button will still work, and you can see there that you can populate that with the old password. It may be that you're using the default, which is written in the manual, which is 4 zeros, and change that to the new password. So we can see there we've gone through all of the area settings. Just as a reminder, if you go back into the general settings, if we've changed anything in there, make sure we remember to save the settings. So that completes all of the functions that we can see in the Bluetooth connection. So we're now connected to Frankie via the cloud, and we can tell that because the battery, the GSM and the GPS are unhighlighted. There's no icons in there, and also it tells us below version of the robot that we're on the cloud now. So on cloud now means we're connected and can command remotely the robot to carry out certain actions. So if we go to the fourth icon at the bottom of the page there, to the icons, the main two features we're going to use will be the stay in the charge station, or go back to the charge station and stay there till the time in the future, and work now, which is the second icon at the bottom of the page there, a robot with a clock in it. So we'll first of all look at the icon with the robot with a home in it, and we can decide here that we want the robot to stay in the base station until later in the day. Say 1400. Or we could choose it to stay in the base station charging until the time up to 7 days in advance. So that's one command, and we can send that command. And it tells us there that the command is sent successfully. So if we slide that page down and go back into the action button, the other feature we may want to use remotely is the feature to send it to work. So we're going to use that now. So we're going to just send that to work for an hour. You have to set a time that's in the future. I'm going to send it to area 1 and send it. The command is successful, and the robot status changes there from charging to working. I'm now going to send the robot back to the charge station. So I'm going to press the second icon there, that's the robot with the house on it. I want the robot to go now, so I'm going to press send. The command is successful, the robot stopped working, and it tells us the robot is going back to the station. Just wait a moment or two for that to go back in the charge station, and the status will change to charging. Robot's back in the charge station, so it's back charging again. That block bar will also show us any errors, so it's gone back to work again. In Bluetooth connection, we'll just show you a few additional features here briefly. So if we look at the drive function, this allows us to see the status of the robot in the top. We can see the battery's at 100%, that the middle icon showing us the GPS is fully functional, there's no grey line through it, and it's full GSM. Whilst the robot's working, we can steer the robot using the button left or right, and there's some action buttons at the base. Back onto the home page here. If we look in the info page, we're also able to download a report from the robot. So if we're asked to send a report from the robot, that's the area we do it. So here we select the day, we download the report, pressing the blue icon in the top of the page next to Ambrogio. This allows us to send via email wherever we want to send that to. So that's a feature there. I'll delete that, cross that off, slide that down. If we slide down a little more, we can see that in the Connect module there's an item called Cloud Statistics. So in here, this gives us some data on the robot. Need to look at that again. So here we can see any errors or working times of the robot. Go back to the home page. And those are the main features completed now and the end of the tutorial. Welcome to the 2024 Ambrogio Remote app. In this tutorial, we're going to have a look at the features of the app in both Bluetooth connection and cloud connection. So we're going to choose Frankie.